Fords versus Ferraris, race cars versus junkers. What does that have to do with our body? What does it have to do with our lives? Well, we have a choice. I love driving race cars. I love the thought of driving race cars. Fast, hard, they're sleek, they move, they handle so well, they perform. But many of us, what we've done is we haven't geared our body to perform like a race car. What we've done is we've geared our body to perform just like a junker. And these are because we've made choices in our lives. And listen, Keeney has already done the research. The leading cause of death in the United States is poor decision making. When we look at how our body performs, it's just like how our cars perform. It's by choice. It's by what we put into it, by how we maintain it, by the things that we work on to continue to improve little by little the performance that these vehicles have. Well, listen, our body is exactly the same way. This body of ours only goes in two different directions because there is no coasting in life. Either we choose to engage in habits and activities and processes that build our body up, that grow it stronger and healthier, or we're doing things that are going to act as a negative to draw from the body, to draw energy away from it, and eventually cause us to break down. There is no coasting in life. And this is because this system of ours is based upon a very simple principle, which is almost all the tissues in your body constantly turn over once every 90 days. So as they replicate, as the cells, those tissues, organs, systems, they replicate, either you're forcing your body to replicate into a higher level of function or into a lower level of function. Race cars versus junkers. Now, I love the fact that, at the time of this video, we get to watch the Olympic trials that are happening. We get to watch how those individuals have spent the 10,000 hours necessary in order to do what they're doing, to perform at that highest level. That's a choice. Just like the individual who sits on the couch, it's a choice. Nobody says we have to do either one. In fact, for many of us, our life goal is not to aspire to be at that peak performance like an Olympic athlete. That is passed us by. And yet we recognize that we also don't have to settle at just sitting there living life by the armchair of a couch. Now, one of the things I want everybody to recognize is the fact that in the end, this body of ours is run by this nervous system. And we are trainable. And the wonderful thing is that we're capable of helping to train the body to be able to perform at an optimal level. And in fact, our nervous system was designed to be maintained from birth on. No, not neglected like most individuals have for the first 5 decades of their life. I mean, the average American is 50 years of age before they even step into a chiropractic office, which means they're already 600 maintenance adjustments behind schedule. It's not okay. It's not okay that that's a choice. And yet, when we start down that road, when we start to make different choices, we are capable of improving the system and how it functions. And the way our body is designed, our brain creates signals at 100% of how they're supposed to be received. It doesn't say, I'm going to hold back, I'm only going to give you 75, 80%. It doesn't say, I'm going to give you 110% of what you need. No, it gives you 100% of what you need every single time it engages. It expects, though, that it's going to be received at 100%. Now, we've talked about in the past, those interferences, those subluxations, when the bone comes out of place and it puts pressure on the nerve, which means that whatever's connected to the other end can't work the way it's supposed to. And yes, I've heard before many people saying, I don't believe in subluxations. Well, the sad thing is nobody cares whether you believe it or not. Nobody cares the naysayers, because in the end, science and research has indicated the fact that when these bones are present, it leaves an effect on our system. And there's numerous ways of testing the system. The remarkable thing is that these tests, they're nothing new. These tests have been around for such a long period of time. If we talk about, referring you to a neurologist, one of the tests that they would commonly use is what's called an NCV, a nerve conduction velocity test, or an SSEP, somatosensory evoked potential testing. Many of you have heard of, the EMG studies. Yes, they take a needle and they stick it in either at the top of your neck or in your low back, and then they put those needles down your leg or down your arm, and they're able to measure how the signal is carried across the nerve to understand, where that interference is, where the damage is coming from. We realize that regardless of whether you believe it or not only are we capable of identifying where that obstruction is, where the damage is happening, but we're also capable of measuring that level of function. Now, we don't have to go to that extreme in order to actually stick needles inside the body. We're capable of utilizing what's called manual muscle testing. And it's a tool that can be used to find a nerve root and why an organ is not performing the way it's supposed to. And any medical professional, we are all taught how to do this. Now, in chiropractic, along with a number of other systems, we utilize it more on a regular basis. My neurologist friends do exactly the same thing inside their clinics in order to help identify nerves that have been affected. We're constantly refining how we do that, because just like anything else, somebody that's just out of school is probably not as well versed in performing muscle testing and having that sensitivity to measuring it, but we're taught it. And over time, it becomes easier and we become more in tune with those falling offs of the power that's supposed to be produced. Now, we actually grade this muscle testing from a 0 to a 5. And when you have that 0, well, let me tell you, it's not good. It's obviously, there is no contraction in the muscle itself. It's totally paralyzed. It would be like you going down into the basement and taking one of your circuit breakers and just turning it off. There's zero power coming through. As opposed to when you have that, that grade of a 3 where, signal comes through a little bit, but not as much as it's supposed to, and it fails totally at times. It's like having that little wire inside of a cord that's frayed. Sometimes it connects, gets everything through. Sometimes it doesn't connect at all. Now, what do we want? We want your muscles, the tissues, firing off at a 5. Nice and firm and strong, so that it indicates that there's that proper connection going from the brain to the rest of your system. A 5 is that ultimate desire, that ultimate goal that we actually have. Now, a lot of times people ask, this muscle testing, what are you able to actually test? We realize that we're testing muscles. Well, in the end, besides testing how these nerves conduct, we're able to test how different products actually affect the performance of the body. See, ultimately, if we expect that our body is going to perform at 100%, well, then we have to be feeding and fueling it at 100%. And things like, our nutritionals, our foods, the things that we utilize pillow-wise, these things if they're not building our body up, then they're breaking our body down. Now, fortunately, we're capable of utilizing these muscle tests in order to help us better understand whether they're in our best interest to utilize. The one thing that I would recommend, if you've never ever had your system tested, first things first, stop, pause, and have your system tested by a chiropractor. To me, one of the biggest things is, hey, listen, when we go to the mechanic, we are taking our car to have it inspected to make sure that it's performing at that highest level. When you present yourself to your chiropractor, that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to be testing the system to ensure that everything is wiring and firing the way it's supposed to. Now, if there's something wrong, we want to learn more about the choices that we need to make. Yes, we need to be making those good and better choices for ourselves so that we can help our body perform more at that optimal level. You want to make sure that you're developing that plan with your chiropractor so that, in fact, you're capable of, over those 90 days, continuing to build the body up, to grow it stronger, to grow it healthier, so that it's able to perform at that optimal level. And then finally, you need to make sure that you're starting on that healthcare journey. The worst disease process that I see all the time, and it's rampant in America, is procrastination. See, the sad thing is that we're taught, well, I'll start it tomorrow. I'll just make this change tomorrow. You know what? I can push it off for a week or 2 weeks, and I have time. So the sad thing is that just like a cavity, it never gets better on its own. It continues to worsen with time. And it is a choice. We all choose, either we're doing those things that will stop this downward breakdown, or we're embracing them so that those habits become more ingrained in our system. The choice is yours. Now I'm going to ask you, have you gotten your system tested? Have you made sure that if you've been tested, that your family is also checked and that their systems have been tested? See, the sad thing is that, yes, we look like our parents on the outside. We look like them on the inside. And our children are exactly the same way. Those tendencies that we have are those things that we pass on from generation to generation. Are they have to be? The answer is no. But in the end, those are choices. What better way to protect our system and to make sure that it continues to run at that optimal level than to make sure that we're heading off problems before they actually happen? As always, I'm going to ask you to do 3 things. Number 1, like this video. It helps to make sure that more people in the community actually hear this information. Number 2 is leave me a comment. What's your takeaway? What did you learn from our conversation today? And number 3, share this information on your Facebook page. I love the fact that in this brief moment of just hitting that share button, we help other people within our community, our family, our friends, our coworkers, our community members, to just simply have the exposure to this better healthcare choices. As always, thank you so much. I'm Dr. Joseph Baker from the Limerick Chiropractic Center.